I was reading Sunday morning in the book of Jeremiah. I talked about Jeremiah and Brother Ian about just a little bit of it there, but I don't necessarily want to preach to you. But I want to read the 29th chapter of Jeremiah. And what I got at as I was studying, now this is taking place in my subheading in my chapter 29. It says Jeremiah's first letter to the exiles. So this would tell me that this is a letter sent, naturally not by mail but by carrier, and to the exiles that already have been taken into Babylon. Now, we can't even imagine what those folks went through. And as we read through this here, and I don't know where I'll get that far or not, but it kind of makes me, when I first started reading it, I was kind of cast down. I kind of like, really, Lord, why did you do something like this, really? And I know the reason why, but it's so easy for us to get down in the dumps, as they used to say, and sometimes it's hard to get out of that. And so this kind of opened up my eyes to let me know that God will do things the way He sees fit to do it. And He also gives us promises, as He did to these people here. I think I'll read that far. But this letter was to be sent as an encouragement to the people in Babylon. Now they're going to be in there for a long time. And, you know, as the natural part of life would be, a lot of people that went in to captivity Babylon did not come back out because they perished during that time. I mean, old age would get them if nothing else. But they were spread all over the countryside. And when they talk about the lost children of Israel, I see this as a picture right there, where some of the people was able to go out to various countries and various places. But let me just read this. I'll not take much time, I don't think, but 29th chapter. And as you go back and read all these other things, you know, up before this time, because Jeremiah is trying to teach the people, trying to tell the people what's coming if they choose not to turn back to the Lord in their lives, to serve them. Now this is an application in my mind of our everyday lives. And this can happen to us every day. It happens in the time. It's not an eternal thing. But when we turn away from the Lord, now we all have had experiences along this line, and when we turn away from the Lord, we know we have to answer to that. And it's not being left out of heaven. That has nothing to do with this. But it has everything to do with our fellowship with the Lord. And this is what the children of Israel lost. They lost that fellowship. These people of Israel, of Jerusalem, they're God's people, chosen people. And so that's not going to change. Not at that time, it's not going to change this time. But He caused them to be captured and taken out of Jerusalem on a journey to Babylon. And they were there for what, 40 years was it? 70 years, wasn't it? So that's a long time to be taken away. Now He did leave a few people there just to kind of tend some of the vines and stuff like that. But okay. But as the prophets, Isaiah did the same thing, Ezekiel did the same thing, Jeremiah really got down into it, just laying it on the line. What was going to happen if they chose not to serve God? Okay, so first verse, 29th chapter. So now these are the words of the letter that Jeremiah the prophet sent from Jerusalem unto the residue of the elders which were carried away captive, and to the priests and to the prophets and to all the people, whom Nebuchadnezzar had carried away captive from Jerusalem to Babylon. This is a letter specifically to those people. Now, I think they took people over in was it 3 different groups? I'm thinking they brought them back that way, I think. But anyhow, second verse. After that, Jeconiah the king, and the queen, and the eunuchs, and the princesses of Judah and Jerusalem, and the carpenters, and the smiths, the blacksmiths, were departed from Jerusalem by the hand of Elisha, the son of Shaphan, and Gemariah, the son of Hilkiah, whom Zedekiah, king of Judah, sent unto Babylon to Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, saying, Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, unto all that are carried away captives, whom I have caused to be carried away from Jerusalem unto Babylon. Now this is God. This saith the Lord of hosts. That's what God spoke to Jeremiah. So nothing else happened except that. God caused these people to be carried into Babylon for a reason, for a purpose. I have caused to be carried away from Jerusalem into Babylon. And I love this next verse here, and it speaks of it more than once, but it says in this letter, build ye houses and dwell in them. Now they're going to be there 70 years. So they had to get involved in somewhere or another just for their own lives. But he says, build ye houses and dwell in them, and plant gardens and eat the fruit of them, the gardens. Take ye wives and begat sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons, and give your daughters to husbands, that they may bear sons and daughters, that ye may be increased there and not diminished. That's kind of an interesting statement to me. So in other words, as they were carried into this captivity, even though some of them were in prison, some of them were bound, some of them suffered much punishment, but I think the majority of them, the king there allowed them to live anyhow. But they had to take care of themselves. I don't think he helped them in any manner. So, his concern here is that you may be increased there and not diminished. And seek the peace of the city, whether I have caused you to be carried away captives. Seek the peace of the city. Okay, you're living there in Babylon for 70 years. No sense going through it with all cast down all the time. Make the best of the situation. Because, in my words, I think they, at some time down the road, not yet, but they would come to realize why this took place, why it transpired. Seek the peace of the city. That means to get along the best you can with the folks of that city. And seek the peace of the city, whither I have caused you to be carried away captives, and pray unto the Lord for it, for the city. For in the peace thereof shall ye have peace. For thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, let not your prophets and your diviners that be in the midst of you deceive you, neither hearken to your dreams which you caused to be dreamed. For they, who's that? These prophets. For they prophesy falsely, deceitfully it says. For they prophesy falsely unto you in my name, and there's a colon, I have not sent them, saith the Lord. These are false prophets that are taking the situation for their own benefit, if you would. 10th verse, for thus saith the Lord, that after 70 years be accomplished in Babylon, I will visit you and perform my good word toward you in causing you to return to this place called Jerusalem. So here early on in this letter, he's telling them that. I will visit you and perform my good word toward you in causing you to return to this place. So he gave them a promise. God did, through Jeremiah, give them this promise that they would return to Jerusalem. For I know the thoughts, 11th verse. This is what got me on reading this. I run across a little verse on something, and this is what it was 29:11. The Lord speaking here, for I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. And in my Bible, that expected end is give you hope in your latter end, in the days to come. Then shall ye call upon me, and shall go and pray unto me, and I will hearken unto you. And ye shall seek me and find me, when ye shall search for me with all your heart. And I will be found of you, saith the Lord, and I will turn away your captivity, and I will gather you from all the nations, and from all the places whither I have driven you, saith the Lord, and I will bring you again into the place where I caused you to be carried away captive. So a lot of the things that Jeremiah and the major prophets here especially, but all of them, tried to tell the people, you have turned from God. You have totally turned from God. And you are seeking to do your own will for your own selves, for your own benefit, for your own comforts, for the things that you want and how you want it. And we find that in life. Now, okay, let me go ahead. I've got it marked to stop here, but I'm going to go ahead with this 15th verse. Okay, and I will bring you again into the place where I caused you to be carried away captive. Because ye have said, the Lord hath raised us up prophets in Babylon. Know that thus saith the Lord of the king that sitteth upon the throne of David, and of all the people that dwell in the city, and of your brethren that are not gone forth with you into captivity. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, behold, I will send upon them the sword. Now these are these false prophets that was raised up in Babylon to try to confuse and just flat out lie to the Israelite people, the Jews. Now, know that thus saith the Lord of the king that sitteth upon the throne of David, and of all the people that dwell in the city, and of your brethren that are not gone forth with you into captivity. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, behold, I will send upon them the sword, the famine, and the pestilence, and will make them like vile figs that cannot be eaten. They are so evil, rotten, vile figs. And I will persecute them with the sword, with the famine, and with the pestilence, and will deliver them to the removed, to all the kingdoms of the earth, and to be a curse, and an astonishment, and a hissing, and a reproach among all the nations which I have given them. Because they have not hearkened to my words, saith the Lord, which I sent unto them by my servants the prophets, rising up early and sending them, but ye would not hear, saith the Lord. Hear ye therefore the word of the Lord, all of ye of the captivity whom I have sent from Jerusalem to Babylon. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, of Ahab the son of Koliah, and of Zedekiah and the son of Maaseiah, which prophesy a lie unto you in my name. Behold, I will deliver them into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and he shall slay them before your eyes. And of them shall be taken up a curse by all the captivity of Judah which are in Babylon, saying, the Lord make thee like Zedekiah and like Ahab, whom the king of Babylon roasted in the fire, because they have committed villainy in Israel, and have committed adultery with their neighbors' wives, and spoken lying words in my name, which I have not commanded them, even I know, and am a witness, saith the Lord. Now he goes down here, and he sends another letter in that 30th verse, and that's just telling him he's going to punish these false prophets they'll answer for their doings. You know, I'm going to drop over here a little bit farther on the 31st and finish with just a little bit reading here. And this 31st one, it verifies, and Jeremiah, I think, verifies this to the people in Babylon, that Israel is restored. Israel will be restored, just like he told them in the beginning. But I'm going to read that down just about the 14th verse, and I'll quit there. So at the same time, saith the Lord, what's the one thing very difficult for me in reading, especially in these prophets, Jeremiah, is really, this is not in a consecutive order about when it happened and how it happened, all that stuff. And so that's what, when I got to reading this to start with, I thought, that don't make sense. But this is a letter, but they don't put it all down in, what's the word I want to use here?
Chronological.
Thank you very much. Okay, let's go ahead and read this little part. 31st verse, chapter, 31st chapter, first verse. Now at the same time, there's a lot of stuff happened in these last few chapters, but at the same time, saith the Lord, will I be the God of all the families of Israel, and they shall be my people. That's a powerful statement right there for me. At the same time, I think that same time is when he's dealing with these false prophets. Thus saith the Lord, the people which were left of the sword found grace in the wilderness, even Israel, when I went to cause him to rest. The Lord hath appeared of old unto me, saying, yea, I have loved thee with an everlasting love. Therefore with loving kindness have I drawn thee. Again, I will build thee, and thou shalt be built, O Virgin of Israel. Thou shalt again be adorned with thy tabrets, and shalt go forth in the dances of them that make merry. Thou shalt you plant vines upon the mountains of Samaria. The planters shall plant, and shall eat them as common things. For there shall be a day that the watchmen of the Mount Ephraim shall cry, arise ye, and let us go up to Zion unto the Lord our God. For thus saith the Lord, sing with gladness for Jacob, and shout among the chief of the nations, publish ye, praise ye, and say, O Lord, save thy people, the remnant of Israel. Behold, I will bring them from the north country, and gather them from the coast of the earth, and with them the blind and the lame, the woman with child, and her that travaileth with child together. A great company shall return thither. They shall come with weeping and supplications. They shall come with weeping, and with supplications, blessings will I lead them. So what supplications here, blessings. I will cause them to walk by the rivers of water in the straight way, wherein they shall not stumble. For I am a father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn. Hear the word of the Lord, O ye nations, and declare it in the isles afar off, and say, he that scattered Israel will gather him, and keep him as a shepherd doth his flock. For the Lord hath redeemed Jacob, and ransomed him from the hand of him that was stronger than he. Therefore they shall come and sing in the height of Zion, shall flow together to the goodness of the Lord, for wheat, and for wine, and for oil, and for the young of the flock and of the herd, and their soul shall be as a watered garden, and they shall not sorrow any more. Then shall the virgin rejoice in the dance, both young men and old together, for I will turn their mourning into joy, and will comfort them, and make them rejoice from their sorrow. And I will satiate or satisfy the soul of the priest with fatness, and my people shall be satisfied with my goodness, saith the Lord. Now, again, as I speak this often, but go home and read some of this book of Jeremiah. You know, I have never just sat down and read through the book of Jeremiah. Never have. I've read bits and pieces. But it's thought that they'll be satisfied with my goodness, saith the Lord. Now, I'm going to drop you out into the 31st verse, and I will stop there, I promise, in the next 3 verses. Then it says, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was a husband unto them, saith the Lord. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my law in their inward hearts, and write it in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor, and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord. For they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Lord. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. No more. Okay, that's going to take some reading on your own part there, but read a little bit before that and read some after that. But it's just the promises of God are so sure, and they're steadfast. That means they're solid. His promises never fail. And even though he sent them out there to Babylon for those 70 years, but then he caused them to return to Jerusalem. And there, Jerusalem was rebuilt, and I don't know, that's just a great lesson in all that right there.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate that, Brother Gary. There's so many promises in there.
Yeah.
In that 31st chapter, I notice after that 14th verse, and he says that I will satiate the soul of the priest. That means to saturate with fatness. And my people shall be satisfied with my goodness, saith the Lord. Then he said, look what he says right after that. Thus saith the Lord, a voice was heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rachel weeping for her children, refused to be comforted for her children because they were not. Remember, that's when Herod went and killed every child every boy child that was 2 years old and under, because he was trying to slay Jesus. So he's telling, Jeremiah is prophesying how the Lord is going to satiate the soul of the priests, how he's going to feed his people to satisfy his people with goodness. It's through Jesus. That's how it's going to happen. And he says to, thus saith the Lord, the 16th verse, refrain thy voice from weeping and thine eyes from tears. He's telling those women and those moms and dads to refrain their eyes from weeping and their eyes from tears, for thy work shall be rewarded, saith the Lord, and they shall come again from the land of the enemy. That what's happening is there's something far greater. Man, that's hard to even fathom what the Lord's saying there.
Yes. Yeah.
I can't even grasp that. Right. The Lord's telling them, refrain from weeping. The Lord must have blessed those mothers and fathers with a blessing like that. We can't imagine what that is like to help them be able to get through that. I can't imagine what that the Lord would say, refrain thyself from weeping. But I think that they were able to do that. If he said that, I think the Lord blessed them to be able to do that. I read part of this 30th chapter today, or last night actually, and I'd recommend that 30th chapter. That's because he begins to tell how he begins to think about Israel and how he begins to think about, the Lord's beginning to think about how the enemies of Israel, how he's looking at them, because the time has changed now, that the Lord is now delivering Israel, and they're calling Israel the outcasts in that 17th verse of that 30th chapter. They're calling Israel a bunch of outcasts, and they're saying, this is Zion whom no man seeketh after. And the enemies are saying that, and the Lord's angry about it. So anyway, read that 30th chapter of Jeremiah too. That's some really good reading. I want to go to 2 Kings, the 5th chapter. I'm sorry, I had to turn that on. I was burning up.
I straightened up rubbish. Not a problem.
If it gets too cold, you can turn it off or back up a little bit.
2 Kings.
And this is a familiar reading, but I want to read this and some of this, and maybe I pray the Lord would help me to maybe say some things about it. You're familiar with it. It's 2 Kings 5th chapter. It's Naaman the Syrian. And I noticed there too, while you're turning there, I want to comment on something else about Jeremiah that I saw. That, he called Ephraim his firstborn. Well, Ephraim was the secondborn, actually, but the Lord called him the firstborn.
Yeah.
Because remember Manasseh and Ephraim, but he told Jacob crossed his hands as if Ephraim was the firstborn, because God had elected him over Manasseh, and God had chosen him over him. Now they were both great nations, because Joseph got a double portion, but he called Ephraim his firstborn. And so he's showing something here in election. And also Naaman was spoken about in election. Now this is a timely, we'll call it a timely election, because he's not talking about an election before the foundation of the world, but something from the foundation of the world to come into something that I trust we're in today. That God has called you out to come into something that not everybody's called into. Now, I don't know if some people accept that or not. Wait a minute, let me rephrase that. I know some people don't accept that.
Right.
Let me rephrase that. I know some people don't accept that they don't believe that's right, that's true. But I won't say any more about that. But believing in the Lord Jesus Christ and believing in his finished work is an election, and he gives you grace for grace to understand grace. And that's an election. And Ian spoke about that on Sunday very well, very aptly. And Israel was chosen for that, and some of them turned it down. And so the Lord turned to the Gentiles, and the Lord's showing this even back over here in this Old Testament book here. And he says now in the first verse, he says, now Naaman, captain of the host of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master, and honorable, because by him the Lord had given deliverance unto Syria. Well, how about that? The Lord's blessing this Syrian army. The Lord blesses other armies, right? We just heard how the Lord blessed Nebuchadnezzar to take over Israel.
Yes.
Otherwise, Nebuchadnezzar couldn't have done that. He was also a mighty man in valor, but he was a leper. The Syrians had gone out by companies and had brought away captive out of the land of Israel a little maid, and she waited on Naaman's wife. And she said unto her mistress, would God, my Lord, were with the prophet that is in Samaria, for he would recover him of his leprosy. Here's this little maid, and what she got? She's got a message Isn't that a beautiful thought right there? She's got a message for this man. It's the wife of this captain of the army of this great king, and he himself is a great man with his master, and she's got a message for this woman and says, I would to God that my master was with this prophet that's in Israel, that he would recover him of his leprosy. So she's telling her that, and the Syrians, let's see, 4th verse, and one went in and told his Lord, saying, Thus and thus said the maid that is of the land of Israel. And the king of Syria said, Go, and I will send a letter unto the king of Israel. And he departed and took with him 10 talents of silver and 6,000 pieces of gold and 10 changes of raiment. And so he's already got the wrong idea, this king does. He thinks he's going to be able to buy this miracle, I guess. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, saying, Now when this letter is come unto thee, behold, I have therewith sent Naaman my servant to thee, that thou mayest recover him of his leprosy. And it came to pass, when the king of Israel had read the letter, that he rent his clothes and said, Am I God to kill and to make alive, that this man does send unto me to recover a man of his leprosy? I think that's a pretty good response from the king, don't you? Am I God that I can do this? Wherefore consider, I pray you, and see how he seeketh a quarrel against me. That's what I would think too. This man's trying to start a fight with me. I don't have the ability to do this. And it was so, when Elisha, the man of God, had heard that the king of Israel had rent his clothes, that he sent to the king, saying, Wherefore hast thou rent thy clothes? Let him come now to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel. So Naaman came with his horses and with his chariots, and stood at the door of the house of Elisha. And Elisha sent a messenger unto him, saying, Go and wash in Jordan 7 times, and thy flesh shall come again to thee, and thou shalt be clean. So Elisha sends out a messenger. He doesn't even bother to go out. He sends somebody else out. He doesn't even bother to step foot in the door. He sends somebody else out, and Naaman's wroth. He's angry, and went away and said, Behold, I thought he would surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, and strike his hands over the place and recover the leper. And so he's angry, and he says, Are not Abana and Pharpar, rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? May I not wash in them and be clean? So he turned and went away in a rage. Yeah. So he wants something much more spectacular than what he's offering here. He went away in a rage, and his servants came near and spake unto him. Now these servants, they got some wise advice here. They came near and said, My father, if the prophet had bid thee do some great thing, wouldest thou not have done it? How much rather then, when he saith to thee, Wash and be clean?
Yeah.
And I thought about that, really. Think how easy. At the time, it doesn't seem easy. It didn't for me. It didn't seem easy at the time when coming into the church, but looking back now, really the Lord made it pretty easy, didn't he? Yeah. He really made it pretty easy. He made our way. He made the crooked ways straight, and he made the hills flat. He made it plain where we could get to the church. We could get to where we needed to be. Our heart was in the right place. He didn't make it difficult. We was able to get to where we needed to be, and here and up here. He really took care of it, didn't he?
He did.
He brought us to this place, to the place where we was down at the feet of Jesus, where we were ready to come here. He made it that way. We didn't do it. He made it that way. How much rather then, when he saith, wash and be clean, then went he down and dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God, and his flesh came again like unto the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. And he returned to the man of God, he and all his company. Can you imagine, brethren, what that must have been like? We read over that. We're talking something that can't be healed. That's right. We're talking leprosy. We're talking that's pretty much you're living with that in a colony with a bunch of other lepers the rest of your life with this disease that you're going to die from. That's it. That's your death sentence. I don't think we can even imagine really what that's like, even thinking about it. I think it's much worse than what we think. And so that was that. You were done. And he returned to the man of God, he and all his company, and came and stood before him. And really our life was no different. We're no different.
That's right.
We're no different. In the sense that if the Lord just left us where we were already dead. The path we're taking, there was no way out of that. It was a one-way street.
That's right.
There's no way out of that. Jesus said, I am the way. He was the only way out of that. Honestly, I don't think I'd be alive today. I don't think I would be. I can honestly say that. Or if I was, I'd be in terrible shape. I'd be in awful shape. And he returned to the man of God, he and all his company, and came and stood before him. And he said, Behold, now I know that there is no God in all the earth but in Israel.
Yeah.
Now therefore I pray thee, take a blessing of thy servant. But he said, As the Lord liveth, before whom I stand, I will receive none. And he urged him to take it, but he refused. And Nathan said, I love this right here. Shall there not then, I pray thee, be given to thy servant 2 mules, burden of earth? For thy servant will henceforth offer neither burnt offering nor sacrifice unto other gods, but unto the Lord. So what this is he wants this, all he wants, brethren, is some dirt. He wants 2 mules packed with dirt. I don't know what they put it in. Some kind of
big basket.
Bags or baskets.
Yeah.
He wants 2 mules burdened of earth, so he can make altars of earth. And Moses said that. Moses didn't say it. The Lord said that to Moses. Over in Exodus, the 20th chapter, we can buzz over there. Keep your hand back here in 2 Kings. It's in the 20th. I think it's the 20th. Yeah, 20th chapter. You know, right there at Mount Sinai. When all this fire, this Mount Sinai is on fire and smoke and it's burning and there's this lightning and thunder and the earth quaked and Moses was exceedingly fearful and he trembled and there was probably nothing ever like it. I'm sure of that. that God himself had come down and this mountain was on fire and smoke. And then God says, an altar, 24th verse of the 20th chapter, he's given them the 10 commandments right here. And he says, an altar of earth shalt thou make unto me, and shalt sacrifice thereon burnt offerings and peace offerings, thy sheep and thine oxen. In all places where I record my name, I will come unto thee, and I will bless thee. And if thou make an altar of stone, thou shalt not build it of hewn stone. For if thou lift up thy tool upon it, thou hast polluted it. Neither shalt thou go up by steps unto mine altar, that thy nakedness be not discovered thereupon. So this altar of earth, brethren, to me, so that's all he wanted was just earth. Just give me some earth here by this river of Jordan. This is in the land of Israel. So he just wants this earth from right by the river Jordan, where he was cleansed from, where he knows this God of Israel is, and he's going to take it back to this land of Syria with him, so he can have this altar that came from Israel, and he can offer his burnt offerings only unto the Lord, and that's it. So to me, this altar of earth is like us when we feel just broken in our hearts, when we feel broken, poor, and of a contrite spirit, and we tremble at God's word, and we just feel poor in spirit. Jesus said, blessed are the poor in spirit. And so when we feel that way, we're in a blessed condition. And so, but if we make an altar of stone, then that's like these stones. We can't hew these stones. We can't carve these stones out to make them fit our lives.
That's right.
These stones are just whole stones. That's the Word of God. If we don't feel like just totally broken, we can take God's Word, these stones, and worship Him according to His Word. And we can stack these stones up, and we can offer these burnt offerings on those stones, but we can't hew them the way that we want them. We can't make bricks out of them and stack them up like we want, nor can we make steps to go up by pride. We can't do that either. So it's got to be according to God's way. So that's what he's wanting here. He just wants 2 mules with burden of earth so he can take them back with him. And then in the 18th verse, he says, in this thing the Lord pardoned thy servant. Now he's telling Elisha this. In this thing the Lord pardoned thy servant. He's talking about the Lord God, but he's speaking to Elisha. In this thing the Lord pardoned thy servant, that when my master goeth into the house of Rimmon, now that's a false god, the house of Rimmon, to worship there, and he leaneth on my hand, and I bow myself in the house of Rimmon. When I bowed down myself in the house of Rimmon, the Lord pardoned thy servant in this thing. And he said unto him, that'd be Elisha, would be he, said unto him, go in peace. So he departed from him in peace. So he knows he departed from him a little way. So he knows he's going to be going into the house of Rimmon with this king. And when he bows down, the king's going to depend on him, and he's going to be bowing down. He just wants him to know, I'm not going into the house of Rimmon really to worship Rimmon. Just pardon me in this matter. I know that there's only one God, and it's the God of Israel. He wants that to be known ahead of time. And he said, but Gehazi, the servant of Elisha, the man of God, said, behold, my master spared Naaman the Syrian in not receiving at his hands that which he brought. But as the Lord liveth, I will run after him and take somewhat of him. Now, what he did was, I don't know if I want to read all this. Well, it's not too far, but I'll just go ahead and read it. So Gehazi followed him, 21st verse. So Gehazi followed after Naaman. And when Naaman saw him run after him, he lighted down from the chariot to meet him and said, is all well? And he said, all is well. My master has sent me. So Gehazi's going after Naaman, acting like that Elisha wants something from him. After Elisha said, no, we don't want anything. I don't want anything. My master has sent me, saying, Behold, even now there be come from me, from Mount Ephraim, 2 young men, the sons of the prophets. Give them, I pray thee, a talent of silver and 2 changes of garments. So he's covetous is what his problem is. And Naaman said, Be content, take 2 talents. And he urged him, and bound 2 talents of silver in 2 bags, and 2 changes of garments, and laid them upon 2 of his servants. And they bare them before him. And when he came to the tower, he took them from their hand, and bestowed them in the house, and let the men go, and they departed. But he went in and stood before his master, and Elijah said unto him, Whence comest thou, Gehazi? And he said, Thy servant went no whither. And he said unto him, Went not my heart with thee when the man turned again from his chariot to meet thee? Is it time to receive money, to receive garments, oliveyards and vineyards and sheep and oxen and men servants and maidservants? The leprosy therefore of Naaman shall cleave unto thee, and unto thy seed forever. And he went out from his presence a leper as white as snow. Wow. Talk about a severe judgment from being covetous like that. That was such a severe judgment, and I wasn't really wanting to get into that part necessarily, but something to definitely to keep in mind for all of us. But just really what I wanted out of that was that how he wanted those 2 mules burdened with earth, because he wanted that earth to offer those sacrifices to his God. His God was the God of Israel. And Jesus over in Luke 4 had mentioned this. And he's talking about that election, that timely election. Jesus just returned. I'll give you a minute to get there. But it's right after the temptation of Jesus in the wilderness. And in the 14th verse, Jesus returned in the power of the Spirit into Galilee. And so right after this great temptation where he overcame, he returns in power, in the power of the Spirit, into Galilee. And there went a fame of him throughout all the region round about. And that's in the 14th verse, 15th, and he taught in their synagogues, being glorified of all. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. So he's in the town where he had been brought up. And as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up to read. And there was delivered unto him the book of the prophet Isaiah. And when he had opened the book, he found the place where it was written, The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he hath anointed me to preach the gospel to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to preach deliverance to the captives, to recover the recovering of the sight to the blind, to set at liberty them that are bruised, to preach the acceptable year of the Lord. And he closed the book, and he gave it to the minister, and sat down. And the eyes of all them that were in the synagogue were fastened on him. And he began to say unto them, This day is this scripture fulfilled in your ears. And all bare him witness, and wondered at the gracious words which proceeded out of his mouth. Now he just read the Bible, and they marveled at the gracious words that proceeded out of his mouth. And they said, Is not this Joseph's son? And he said unto them, Ye will surely say unto me this proverb, Physician, heal thyself. Whatsoever we have heard done in Capernaum, do also here in thy country. And he said, Verily I say unto you, no prophet is accepted in his own country. But I tell you of a truth, many widows were in Israel in the days of Elias, when the heaven was shut up 3 years and 6 months, when great famine was throughout all the land, but unto none of them was Elias sent, save unto Sarepta, a city of Sidon, unto a woman that was a widow. So they were showing an election too, right? There was many widows in around, but Elias was sent only to this widow woman of Sidon and Sarepta. And then he says, and many lepers were in Israel, were actually in Israel. He's not even talking about Syria. Many lepers were in Israel in the time of Eliseus, the prophet, and none of them were cleansed, saving Naaman the Syrian.
Yeah.
So he's talking about going out of Israel and going into a Gentile area. And all they in the synagogue, when they heard these things, were filled with wrath, because they seen what he was saying. They saw that, they understood what he was saying, that God went out of the Israelite people and saved people in other nations, what they considered enemies. And they rose up and thrust it, like this was going to help. And they rose up and thrust him out of the city and led him unto the brow of the hill. So they rose up and thrust him out of the city. Now, I don't know how rough they were with him, but they got physical with him and thrust him out of the city and led him unto the brow of the hill whereunto their city was built, that they might cast him down headlong. They want to kill him right there for this, for saying this. How dare you say God healed this Syrian instead of an Israelite? How dare you say God healed this woman of Sidon instead of an Israelite widow? Or blessed this prophet through her instead of through an Israelite widow. So he's showing this election even at this time, way back then. But he, passing through the midst of them, went his way. Their hearts were in the wrong place. Their hearts weren't like those people. Their hearts were lifted up. The Lord said in Isaiah, he said, to this man will I look, even him that's poor and of a contrite heart, and trembleth at my word, who has this broken heart, this spirit that's poor and contrite and broken, and that trembles at my word. What's he looking for out of that person? I think he's looking for worship, for faith, for praise, that the Lord has chosen the weak things. And we feel so weak when we feel that way. And he said of such, what did he say there? What did he say in Matthew? For theirs is the kingdom of heaven. It's those people, that's the kingdom's for those people. For theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And yet we're in this world, and the spirit of this world is not like that. It seems like that we have to fight and elbow and, just to survive, it seems like. Instead of being meek or hungering and thirsting after righteousness, being merciful, being those things, the peacemakers, being poor in spirit. Seems like you get trampled on instead of, and you do, but yours is the kingdom of heaven. So that's what Naaman, that's what he found. He found that. So God bless you all. That's what I got.
Doesn't get old, does it?